The Election Commission of Pakistan has made a certain prerequisite that for every single Pakistani wishing to contest elections, he has to have only a Pakistani nationality. We see there is a problem in the status quo of today. When we see that this is discriminatory against people who go abroad, who study abroad, and who have that sort of education and exposure which is necessary for the political procedures of Pakistan, we see that there is a problem. And when we see that certain political parties such as the PPP use this to gain an unfair advantage in this sort of situation, only pass this sort of law so that they can have an unfair advantage over their competitors, we see that there is a problem. Because, ladies and gentlemen, at the end of the day, this sort of thing is unfair. This sort of thing undermines Pakistan at the end of the day. Because what we have here is an educated class who have the resources to do so, because they obtained a dual nationality, another passport, ladies and gentlemen. And why specifically Pakistan are we talking about? Because, ladies and gentlemen, it is crucial. We need people who have that sort of education, who have that sort of exposure to lead this country. And at the end of the day, we have to realize that that election time itself is coming closer and closer. Sit down, sir. When this country demands this sort of leadership, when this country demands that you have people who have this sort of exposure, there is a problem with this policy, ladies and gentlemen. And in our model, what we've ensured is this sort of fair and free elections, when we're not disrespecting the Pakistani state, that the Pakistani state has the, sit down sir, should be able to have that sort of leadership with those sort of qualities. Because then on a second level, you're propagating a fake concept of nationalism. And what is nationalism at the end of the day? It's not a documentation that you belong to Pakistan. It's that you have a sort of feeling, a sort of connection, a sort of association with Pakistan as a country. Sit down, Asif. It's that you feel that you need to work for your country. It's that you feel that you have a strong ties with your country, no matter what. And ladies and gentlemen, you cannot bar nationalism from, sit down sir, protect your minute. When you cannot bar nationalism itself from helping people develop Pakistan. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, when it's not present in paper, ladies and gentlemen, but it's still in your devotion, and through your acts, ladies and gentlemen, that even Benazir Bhutto, after receiving education, was able to come back into Pakistan and revitalize the entire system to create these sort of acts and sort of laws which promoted women's rights. These sort of new ideas for a rational and a liberal sort of government and sort of society, ladies and gentlemen, that can only exist when these people are no longer barred from office. So, summing this all up, ladies and gentlemen, how are you compromising the Pakistani state in this sort of model? Because, ladies and gentlemen, Pakistani nationalism, you're deliberately undermining competition by certain political parties. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we should not be threatened by these people. They're not spies, ladies and gentlemen. They are Pakistanis just like you and I. They are people who are able, who are willing to work for Pakistan. And at the end of the day, in the true spirit of nationalism, we believe that they should have a right. They should have a right to hold office, to contest elections, and not be barred from office. So for all these reasons, we believe that the motion stands. Thank you.
The first thing that needs to be made clear to team proposition today is the difference between merely living abroad, ladies and gentlemen, and having a dual nationality. Having a nationality of a different country. What exactly is that difference? We'll show you what it is. Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, the whole idea that they brought up about exposure, ladies and gentlemen, how all of that exposure is necessary for a viable Pakistani state, for leaders of that state. What you need to realize, ladies and gentlemen, is that that exposure can be brought to your people without having a dual nationality. Merely living abroad, merely studying abroad, and then coming back to Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, is enough to have that exposure. We don't have anything against foreign graduates, ladies and gentlemen, because at the end of the day, they are Pakistani. What we do have against, ladies and gentlemen, is that dual nationality. Because what exactly is that dual nationality, ladies and gentlemen? Not only are you a citizen, a proper fully fledged citizen of Pakistan, but of another country, ladies and gentlemen, and there is something you basically need to realize, that this dual nationality results in you pledging your loyalty towards that other country as well. That is what a passport of that country, sit down all of you, that is what the passport of that country essentially says, and that is what you are doing when you are having that nationality at the end of the day. And this nationality, ladies and gentlemen, is this nationality being a profession that you are willing to follow this, sit down sir, willing to follow the interests of that country, ladies and gentlemen. That is exactly what we do not want, because we want leaders, ladies and gentlemen, leaders who are principally focused towards serving Pakistan and not any other country at the end of the day. You need to realize that firstly, essentially, when you have a dual nationality, you are a citizen of that of the other country as well. And secondly, ladies and gentlemen, you also need to realize that is why these whole checks on business, the whole checks on assets on other countries of our people exist, ladies and gentlemen. That is why you are checking Zardari's foreign assets or Nawaz Sharif's foreign assets. That is why all of this exists, and we are against that as well in principle, ladies and gentlemen. So we don't see what the problem is. So moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to how national interests will be compromised in this case. Not only do you have private stakes safeguarded, private stakes of these dual nationals safeguarded in such a case. If the other country, if the other country is giving a reward to that person, which will lead to a private stakes of that person safeguarded, as well as the interests of the other country followed, the interests of that other country's agenda followed, ladies and gentlemen. The whole idea, then you have all these problems that Pakistan faces exacerbated, because you have your government. You have your government moving against the interests of Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, the interests of other states, because they have dual nationalities of all those states at the end of the day, and hence your government politicians are divided in their loyalties. We do not want government politicians divided in their loyalties. We want government politicians working for Pakistan, not for the USA. And for Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, for this state, for your people, vote Aitchison College A.
Defending what the Asian government and our policy brands to allow.
A person living in the United States of America is as likely to know about Pakistan's problems as you, especially if you've been raised in a Pakistani family. You are in attachment with the culture if you know how to speak Urdu, and even if you don't, it is not mandatory for you to know, just to be Pakistani, to know Pakistan's problems, which is the first distinction Team Proposition outlined for you, which is why we support dual nationality. The second one being, now their entire chunk of attack came through this entire argument about living abroad does not qualify as having a nationality, a foreign nationality is something different. This is what we say to it. First of all, show us how how people who have a Pakistani nationality, how they are entirely devoted towards Pakistan. Show us how people who are already citizens of Pakistan and do not have a dual nationality, how simply having them has any benefit. However, not having, ladies and gentlemen, these people who have dual nationalities can be detrimental to your country. Not just economically, when it comes to remittances they send from abroad, or the sort of role they can play in bridging your gap between the foreign and the local industries. No, thank you, Bob. We have already talked about. You have the example of a member of the British House of Commons, a woman known as Sayyida, who hails from Jhelum, ladies and gentlemen, but is a British member, House of Commons, ladies and gentlemen. And then you also have a House of Lords member who hails from Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, but it stands for the British elections. What does that show you? That not only does Britain use that particular woman as an ambassador for Britain's relationship with Pakistan, that also shows you that you do not need to serve one particular country. Your allegiances can be equally divided, and they can be good in both forms, ladies and gentlemen. Just because you have a dual nationality doesn't mean you are suddenly evil. Go ahead, Mr.